Last time I did one of these Pokemon videos, I got to play a game that, although I had played it before, I never played it a lot. I certainly never got close to finishing it, so it was nice to have a chance to go back and finish a game that I started so long ago. This time, though, it's even better because I will not be playing a game that I have played before much. I think I played once about half an hour because I couldn't really play this when it came out as much as I wanted to because I never owned an N64, and I still don't. But thankfully, this is one of the retro games available on the Switch. Now, I will add a little bit of a disclaimer for this one and explain, for those of you who don't know, this is a somewhat limited version of the game, and it's really best for providing nostalgia for those who played it as a kid, and to give people the ability to sort of have a quick play on it, but that's it. Without the Game Boy connection and functionality that the original had, it's not easily playable, so it goes without saying, I will not be completing this game. It also probably goes without saying that this will end up being a lot shorter than the other Pokemon videos that I have done, but I'm okay with that simply because it means I can move on to the other Pokemon games quicker, and considering how long the list is, that is a blessing. We will still be giving the game a damn good go though, so let's get into it and give it that damn good go. Logically, it would have been best to start with the actual stadium itself, since, you know, that's the name and the point of the game. But me being me, I got curious and had a little look around some of the other bits. The gallery mode was interesting. All we can do here is take photos of generic Pokemon, but in the original version of this, you could get photos of your Pokemon transferred from your Game Boy, that Pokemon you had on the Game Boy. You could transfer those to the N64. You could take the cartridge to a Pokemon Snap machine, which would have been found in places like Blockbusters. Yes, we are going back a bit now. And they could print off physical photos from your game. And if that bit of information doesn't make the game feel old, nothing will. It's a very interesting concept, and it's unique for the time, being able to take something from inside a game and share it outside of the game. These days we do that all the time. I'm literally doing that with this video, but that wasn't a thing back then. This isn't what we're here for today though. It's just fun to look at. We're here to check out the cups, and we're going to get started with the Pika Cup. That sounds like a nice easy one, doesn't it? So, before I talk about how I pretty much failed to win any of these, I need to explain something. Winning these is very difficult, if not outright impossible. There are literal challenge videos about doing this because of how hard it is. As I said earlier, the game was designed to be used with the Game Boy and with the Game Boy versions of Pokemon Red, Blue and Yellow. To be able to use Pokemon to actually win these ones, you had to use Pokemon that you trained on the Game Boy. As you can see from the menu, it was designed for that. However, as we cannot do that here, we have to use the rental Pokemon, which will nearly always be underpowered. For what I want to do, I appreciate the fact the game has been released on Switch, because ultimately all I want to do is give it a try. It's not a game with a story mode or anything like that. I don't need to finish it, I just need to give it a go. However, for people who do care about trying to do everything, this version isn't it. Even today, the best way would still be to get an N64 and a Game Boy with the original cartridges and cables and everything and play it that way. This will serve, however, as I said, for what I need, so we continue with the Pika Cup and our first real chance to play it. It's fun. The battles are your standard Pokemon battles, much as you would expect it, but I like the way it plays. The rental Pokemon, for all their flaws, have a good mix of moves. If you are a fan of the turn-based Pokemon battle system, which I have too much nostalgia for not to be a fan of, it's fun. It's also fun for me to finally play this, because I got to have a brief go once as a kid when I was around a friend's house. I remember thinking at the time it was so cool to actually play with 3D Pokemon, considering at the time the only alternative was black and white 2D ones. Suffice to say, it doesn't have the same impact now, but it's still cool. Can we win the Pika Cup though? Well, no, and I didn't think I was going to be able to. I will also tell you now, this is going to be a running theme, so don't expect me to actually be winning. After I finished the Pika Cup, I headed to the Petit Cup, which specifically requires that we only use small, unevolved Pokemon, as the name would suggest. We built ourselves a new team and headed into it. I did actually end up getting pretty far into this, further than I was expecting, and I defeated 6 out of the 8 traders, which I think is pretty good considering I was relying on rental Pokemon. Once again though, I got defeated, which considering the 7th had Pokemon 5 levels higher than mine, wasn't really much of a surprise. Still, I gave it a good go, and that is always the most important thing for me. With that done, it's time for the Pika Cup, which is the main cup, and there are 4 difficulties. As I've not done any yet, I only get the choice of the first one, but who knows? With this, maybe I can get it. Unlike the last, we have a choice of all Pokemon at level 50. I built myself a pretty damn awesome team, which is also not too far off my old stream team on Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. I didn't mean for that, but that is what happened. I got to go in and have some fun, and I really did have some fun. The rental Pokemon I had were really strong and really talented, so yeah, I enjoyed it. I was also successful. Yes, you heard that right. I did actually win a cup. Admittedly, it was the easiest of them, and there's definitely no way I could win them all. But hey, I will take actually getting a victory for once. It makes a nice change of pace. With those done, I really only had one more thing to try out, which was the mini games. This isn't really a main part of the game, it's more of a little extra that got bolted on, but I still wanted to give it a go. It was certainly different. I did not expect to be licking up food as a Lickitung or throwing Ekin rings on Diglets, and yet here I am. In terms of how fun these are, they're okay. They remind me of Mario Party minigames more than anything else, and like those, you wouldn't enjoy them if you had to do them for too long at a time. With that done though, we are done. That's really all the Pokemon Stadium we can do, and that's the 3rd game in the series done. There's a lot more left, but still, it's progress. Part of doing this series for me originally was that it gave me an excuse to play the old games I never actually tried. So it was nice for this one to try one of them that I missed. My opinion is quite limited, because ultimately I get why people love it and I get why people enjoyed the game when they could transfer their Pokemon from the Game Boy. I understand the hype for this game at the time, I get why people loved it. However, this game was lacking that functionality, but also it hadn't been adjusted to adapt for the lack, so shockingly, it was lacking. I had fun, but I also won't be returning anytime soon. Perhaps someday in the future, if I ever pick up an old N64 in this game and the cables, I might try and play it the way it was designed. I have the original game, so I could do that. But this version of it, I won't return. It's worth it if you've got nostalgia, and it's also worth it if you're like me and you've never played it before. But that's really about as much as you can do with it. So that was Pokemon Stadium. That is my view on the game, and now I pass it on to you. What are your thoughts about the game, this adaptation, and the video itself? It may be a little while before I do another Pokemon game, but when I do, well, we will be back on the Game Boy, but it won't be like any Pokemon game we've done before. If you want to know what that means, well, you'll just have to subscribe and stick around for that video, won't you?